Hello, so I found a Battleship game, and I want total global domination. So instead of getting good at the game, we are going to spend 3 months building bots that can play it for us and hopefully get us that bag. So in order to get our bots online, we're going to use this simulator instead. We're going to build different brains for Battleship, test them here, and then the one that beats the others will be unleashed upon the Battleship community using this really bad program I wrote. But in order to begin, we need to begin. The first thing that we need is a baseline, and that's gonna come from the random brain. This one is the dumbest of the group. You could say it's special like me. However, when we run this bot, it's actually going to choose random tiles and just click them, which means if it gets a hit, it doesn't care. And if it doesn't get a hit, it also doesn't care. It's living a blissful life. It is much happier than I am. Now, the way we're gonna test these agents is by running 1,000,000 games. And then after we run 1,000,000 games, we compare it with all the other bots we have. In 3, 2, 1, go. And the results are in. And they were absolutely terrible. This is a really great starting place, but now we need to improve it. So let's move on. The first thing that we can do is implementing hunting and targeting. Basically, the idea is that when you hit a ship, instead of just moving on, we're actually gonna take the time to shoot tiles around this space to try and sink the ship. Now, in most games of Battleship, all of the ships are straight lines. What that means is that once you get an idea of what direction the ship is going, you get to eliminate a whole bunch of other options. We can also keep in mind that most games of Battleship actually will tell the player if they sunk a ship. And even better than that, it's going to tell them which ship was sunk. This is very important information because what happens if there's 2 ships that are next to each other? We still want to be able to guess for them. So after putting all of this different logic into a new brain, I christen this child the hunting and targeting player. Now this is where things get more interesting. Our random brain had won a bunch of games, but it took too long to complete them, and using our new hunting and targeting method, we're now winning a ton more games with less moves. Since we want our data to shift to the left from better results, any updates that we make should either lower the high moves or increase the low moves. Which brings us to a brand new idea. What if we chopped up our hunt and target bot and optimized it to be better? There is an idea that we can use information of what ships we have sunk versus ships that we have not sunk. And by using that, we can cut out entire sections of the board for our guesses. We're still guessing randomly, but we're focusing that randomness to use that logic. Let's go through an example. At the beginning of the game, the smallest ship we need to look for is the destroyer. If we lined up virtual ships in a bit of a pattern here, we notice that we can cut out half of the tiles. We only need to guess 50 spaces if we want to hit this thing. But get this, if we sink the destroyer, the next smallest ships is the 3 long submarine and cruiser. Now we get to cut out 2/3 of the tiles. This pattern holds for all ship sizes and shapes. While this does not help a whole lot in some game boards, it does help a ton in certain boards, and it will not hurt our old score. So we should get some sort of improvement no matter what. Just like you should improve that subscribe button. But now that we can cut out all these spaces, we need to run it for another 1,000,000 games. We were able to do exactly what we set out to do, lower the right side and raise the left side. But we've pretty much used up all of the things we can do for randomness. We've taken it to its limits. We need to do upgrades, like real generational upgrades. That's why we're no longer going to use randomness, we're going to use math. Remember how we used the ship placements earlier to cut out spaces? Well, what if we use that same idea to find the most likely position that any ship on the board could be? And then we want to shoot the one that has the highest density first. Now we can apply this to each ship, but that's kind of boring. The real magic comes in when we combine all of these boards into one super heat map. Then whenever space has the hottest area, that's what we'll shoot. Now you all know that I'm going to do this again. 1,000,000 games! Now we've really made some progress. Just like before, we have lowered the high move games and increased the low move games. But something else, we were able to absolutely cut out games that were over 75 or 80. They just don't exist with this bot. Because of this, we can guarantee that we'll never have a game that takes 85 moves. We also have a super low chance, but a possibility of making the perfect game. A perfect 17 move game. You might be wondering what makes 17 moves the perfect game. Well, that's because in a standard game of Battleship, You only need 17 moves to technically win. That's how many spaces are on all the ships. It's just really unlikely to do it. But we have achieved some of the best results that we possibly can. But we do have one more secret. We are going to use something so powerful that it will bend reality to our will. We are going to use time travel to defeat Battleship. Here's how we're going to do it. We are going to pretend to make a move. Then we're going to see all of the potential futures that move may lead to. But here's the catch. We're not just going to guess one or two potential futures. We are also going to produce every future on the board. We're Doctor Stranging this. If we can look into all of the future board states, we can start to cut out branches that just don't make any sense. By doing that, we can, instead of making the highest probability move, we can make maybe the second or third highest probability move that gets us to a better game end. But after I've put all of the different pieces into one mega brain, it's time to run this for another million games. Well, that's not good. Because we're trying to do all of these different copying of the board states and branching and deleting and all of this crazy stuff, we're actually running out of memory. Now, my computer's a beast, but if my computer's messing things up, you know we're trying to do something that's almost impossible. So instead of running a million games, we're running smaller batches of games and clearing the memory when we complete a batch. That way we can get more and more games done without absolutely annihilating the computer that I have. That being said, a slightly more modest, maybe like 2,000 games. Don't let that time lapse fool you. It actually took 3 days to run. Please help me. My computer's on fire. Even after all of our memory issues though, this bot does technically work better on average, but it's not really worth it considering all of the computer stuff that we gotta deal with. Right now, I have to put the probability bot with the crown, but at this point, it's time for us to actually have this bot fight real people. While I was testing these Battleship bots, I was also developing this Python hack client for a knockoff Battleship game with a leaderboard. This was a whole story in itself to make sure that the bot could launch the game, press the right buttons, be able to actually see what was on the board, and make moves using the brain that we built. I'm skipping over a ton of important pieces, but it really doesn't matter how it works. But we are going to put our fastest, most reliable bot on the battlefield and have it fight for my honor. And the final results are in. We tested 5 Battleship bots and took the best, put it against sweaty gamers, and we had a win rate of 34%. What the f***? I thought we had together. So it turns out that this Battleship knockoff had a few differences that I did not mention earlier. The first one is that it has some different ships, crazy players on the leaderboards, and so many animations and customizations that my bot sometimes started losing the plot and just making moves that it could not make. A lot of this had to do with my really bad method of detecting whether or not an actual move was made or if a click was made, and it just didn't really keep track of everything correctly. However, considering the odds that it faced, the bot did win over 100 games out of 300, and that's good enough for me. I tried to get through everything that I could into this one condensed video, and I hope you like it. And we have a ton of projects in the works, from returning old ones to new projects, and some crazy ones that are happening. But most of them have already had their code written and footage recorded, so I just need to edit a little bit faster. But in the meantime, check out the other projects that I've made recently, like Lego Doom or 3D Bad Piggies, because there's way too many of those things that are going to come out soon.